everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I apologize for giving you the wrong time, but Sashita is here with us, and we're ready to discuss a really good topic. And the idea for me to have this topic and the discussion of the topic is because I want to empower you. That is all I care about, giving you the power back, and that's what this is going to be about. Just wanted to let you know how did I meet Sashita. I met her because she came for a quantum hypnosis session, and she wanted to have some more information about the things that she does, a little bit more detail. And after I heard her amazing story, I felt that that I needed to have her on so that we could all learn how all these things happen behind the scenes, and how I can empower you that if something were to happen with this type of being, that you know what to do. And again, we're going to cover the good reptilians. We're going to cover the bad reptilians. We're just going to cover all of it. It's just understanding them and really knowing what this is all about. So, okay, so I think I'm ready. If you want to, Sashita, if you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, and then you can start with the beginning.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me on, Elisa. This was actually a nice surprise when you asked me. So I haven't done an interview about this for quite some time. I will let you all know that I have in front of me my laptop with a blog that I created, and I'll give it to you now. I'm basically going to use that as my guide through talking through this, because I created it specifically to assist people in a step-by-step process if they suspect that they are dealing with reptilians. Some people don't know, and they wonder if they are. And it will also help people who have already worked it out. And so it's while I give you a brief idea about me, it's talltalesblog.wordpress.com. So that's talltalesblog.wordpress.com. It's nothing fancy. It's written nicely for you, but yeah, it's not some professional website or something. It's just a little backyard thing just to help you out. So about me and how I ended up dealing with them. Like most people, I suppose, since I was another apology in advance. I am at home. I do have dogs, and sometimes they don't like people walking down our streets. So I apologize if there's barking. So yeah, since I was a child, I've been dealing with all sorts of different beings, and my parents knew. We were from a religious family, of course, so they thought they were angels. You could see the imprint on my bed, and I could tell them how tall they were and everything. These weren't reptilians then. These were actually my people. And I found you, Elisa, through Elena, because a friend of mine referred me to her. And so I had a reading with Elena and told her about who I actually am in my regular body, and what we look like, and what we subsist on, and what we do. And she worked out what my people were, and they're the Almahuluk. So I'm very, it was wonderful to find someone who knew my people. So those were the people that were visiting me when I was a kid. And then as time wore on, I did deal with other entities, both when I was younger and older. And usually what would happen is the room would just disappear, and there would be no form, and I would just be frozen. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't anything. And I had that kind of experience off and on over the years. And it was sort of around 2014 or something like that. When you get to a point in life, Elisa, and you're just like, you know what, I want to know the truth. And I want a guide. I want someone who's not from this world, but from another one who actually knows what's going on. And so I put a call out for that. And the person that I found was in reptilian form. who actually turned out to be my partner. So I'd come down in human form and they'd come down in reptilian form. And together we'd been working underground. And so then I started doing a lot of it consciously. It's one thing to do stuff, you know, unconsciously and have what you think are dreams. And it's another thing to actually start doing it consciously, to know that you're leaving, to know that you're teleporting, to know that you're going through the roof. And yeah, so we did a lot of work underground, particularly with the children. A lot of huge military complexes underground. I couldn't even believe, and the technology. I mean, we're talking about waterfalls that flow underground that that are a mirror and are used for that purpose. And just, yeah, it's quite phenomenal. It's quite phenomenal. And I guess throughout, one of the main guides for me were my dogs and my cats, because of course they could see these creatures. So that gave me some kind of peace of mind that I just wasn't a mental case, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends stay with me who saw them, and I would come back with incisions and needle marks, and they would take photos of my body, and then we'd watch these incisions and marks heal within 2 hours. And no, I don't have any of that stuff for you anymore. It's all in old phones that I since just disbanded. It never seemed relevant at the time. Those of you that have been through this know that for some reason you don't place the kind of importance on that material that you should. And you just, yeah, you lose it. But so is that enough of an overview of me?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Cool.
we can get started with the really awesome stories.
Okay, cool. So I do know that questions may come through, and I'm fine with Elisa stopping and asking me the questions as I move through this kind of thing. But we'll start with the first one. If you've joined me online and you can see what I'm looking at, then I'm just going to go through it. The first topic that I wrote about, and I'm going to stick to this because it's in the step-by-step process, is, am I having a reptilian experience? So a lot of people, gosh, I dislike these earphones. A lot of people don't even know that they're having a reptilian experience. So I'll just go through some of the things that happen. Most people just wake up and think they've had a bad dream. Maybe their pajamas were on backwards. You know, maybe they've, yeah, I think primarily the first thing to look for is the smell. And anyone who's dealt with them a lot knows that. And the smell of ammonia, or it's musky, a little moldy. If it's in your room, on your clothes and stuff, okay. Sometimes it is going to, and some of the things that I'm going to say are going to be a little personal and potentially a little coarse, okay? And most of the time I'm going to try and warn you in advance, and this is one of those times. So when you go to the bathroom and you conduct your ablutions, you may smell it, okay? You may smell it come out of your body, and that can be quite frightening.
So you mean occlusions, meaning like scabs or?
No, when you conduct your ablutions. So when you go to the toilet and you go for a wee, or you go for a number two,
okay.
You can smell it. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
wow.
You can smell it come out, okay? Particularly in my case, and not everyone's the same. Some people, they're just dealing with them in the dreamscape, which I'll talk about. Other times they might energetically overlay a person's body. In my case, I was being transported into caverns underground, and I was having physical interaction. So my body would be adjusted to cope. And my urine would be all sorts of different colors with different things that they were using. And so I was having I remember touching them physically. I can't explain how they managed to do it, but I was very much dealing with them in what I perceived to be a physical manner. Whether I changed dimension or frequency in order to do it, I don't know. I do know that there was a lot of time spent on tables and different injections, and in the end, I was actually just handed over to Reptilians. So because the military complex didn't like dealing with me because of the nature of my body and its capabilities. So if they gave me injections, they would do it to have me change into a reptile, okay, take on reptilian form, so that I could act as a like a guard or a protector on call. So they can just inject me and then I would change form for
So
that
who's
purpose.
injecting you? Who's injecting you? The
Humans.
military? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's the military that's injecting you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what would happen was that eventually I was able to do it without, because I used to become quite angry, and I would be able to change without the injection, and that was very frightening for them. And so then they kind of disbanded and they just handed me over to Reptilians. So I just sort of worked with them directly after that.
So how did they get you? How did the military get you? Would they
Usually
abduct
just
you?
from home. Yeah, usually just from home. Sometimes I'd wake up halfway through the roof if they got it wrong, and then they'd have to knock me out again so they could get me the rest of the way out. Just helicopters or just in person, just
Okay, so they have the ability, they have the technology then to pull you up through a beam of light like ETs do.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
except you
God.
don't see the light, except you don't see the light. Yeah.
Okay.
But other times, obviously, it would be reptiles themselves. So back to the whole point of all of that was that, yes, if you are dealing with them in close proximity like that, you will smell it in your body, okay? And it'll come out in your feces and in your urine, okay? So I guess the main point is if you discover this, I want you to stay calm, okay? Really stay calm. And this might seem a little offhand, but at the end of the day, someone stole your car, but they brought it back. So you've still got your body, you've still got your vehicle, you're still intact. So I just want you to stay calm, okay? And just as long as you do that, then you can take the next steps, and you can stay in a position of at least personal power, and then take re-ownership of your form, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that you'll notice is waking up in complete darkness. Now, if you wake up in complete darkness and there's no form, you know you're dealing with a winged dragon. Now, I know that there's all sorts of names for all these different creatures. I didn't even know they were called reptilians when I was dealing with them. And I didn't even know that the winged ones, they called draconians and all that kind of thing. So to keep it simple, I just call them winged dragons. But when there's no form, that is what you're dealing with. Sometimes you might have an airy yellow light or something like that there as well, but there'll be no form whatsoever. They understand the nature of formlessness. They understand that none of this is real, and they can make it all go away. So when you're dealing with them, you've got to fight from what I call the palette of first origin. Okay. You are basically in a formless state. Now, whether or not that's been because you've been excommunicated from your body and they've done that, and so now you're in the ether somewhere, but that is where they battle. Okay, they don't do battle, in my experience, with you in the physical realm. They will do battle in formlessness. When you're dealing with them in that place, it really helps to have faith. I don't care what kind of religion you have or if you don't have one, but it is really important, and this is from my personal experience, to have faith and belief that there is something out there that is more that is greater and more powerful than both of you. Because it comes down to your perception. If you perceive them to be more powerful than you and the most powerful thing that you know, then they become a god, they become the winner. If you believe that there is something that is more powerful than both of you, and you cling to that and call to that for your empowerment, then you win. And I have won like this every time. Every time. Okay, I have communicated with these creatures, but I have gained my power even in the state of formlessness, just by making myself say certain phrases, just calling out even the word Lord, like we've discussed before. Any phrase that, if you are Christian, you can say Jesus is the Son of God. It all translates the same way. Okay, if you call out to source, universal language translates it all the same way, and you gain that supreme power. You become one with source and say, hey, this isn't the way the movie goes today. So that is your best bet. And then what you'll find is that you'll then become aware of your body again, and you will be paralyzed, and you have to keep forming those words. And it's only when you manage to speak them out loud that the spell, if you like, is broken. It's making yourself say them out loud, because then you're in full form again. Okay, and then they can no longer play with whatever it was that they were doing. Now, with winged dragons, they still have hierarchy. So in my experience, I dealt with one called Gardish, and we had this particular battle, and when he didn't win, he actually didn't know what to do. He just sat there. and so I got up and moved around a bit and checked that I was actually at someone else's place, checked that their animals were okay. And they were all hypnotized. They were just sitting there like that, you know. In my experience, the winged dragons are experts at hypnosis. And if you're dealing with hypnosis, you're dealing with a winged dragon, in my experience. So they will just hypnotize creatures, and then they're not harming them. There's no noise. There's nothing done. That's how they do it. And they will hypnotize you as well. So what happens is that if you win, or you're beginning to win, they will attempt to hypnotize you, and it translates in your mind as something like, it was nothing, you're fine, you're safe now, you won, go back to sleep, just rest. That's what it'll sound like. And you'll end up going back into the same situation. So it's really important that even if you do wake up, even if you do manage to make the sound, say the words, that you physically get up and you do not go back to sleep.
Okay. Is there any way that you can stop it from happening even in the first place, like not even them taking you to the dark place? Is there any way?
We'll go through that in a little bit, because that all comes sort of under what's the reason they're approaching you in the first place. Okay, so we'll go through things you can do to make yourself less of a target. Okay. In my experience, you can work it out in the dreamscape, but we'll cover the dreamscape in a little bit, and I'll show you the signs in the dreamscape that suggest you're dealing with a winged dragon or other reptilian, if that's okay.
Yeah, no,
okay,
absolutely.
So your your pets, whatever, they'll be in a trance or just pacing because they've been hypnotized. Now, the manipulation of the dreamscape is where you'll see the signs. They often like to show, and I'll go into this in more detail in a bit, but they often like to show themselves as TV characters, because they know that a lot of humans watch TV. I highly suggest you stop watching things. So they'll use someone that you're attracted to, a person, or they'll try and conjure up what they think you're attracted to, which can be really amusing. So yeah, famous people, you know, if you watch Star Trek, or if you watch Friends, whatever it is that you watch, they'll appear as those kinds of people. Oftentimes they'll use the moon in the dreams. And because they know humans, oh, they're going to notice that the postman's here. Yes, they are.
No worries, I can still hear you.
Okay,
they
good.
Sound far away.
Oh, do they? Oh God, they're so loud to me. So they'll use the moon because humans stare at it. So you might see a massive moon coming up over a horizon, and then potentially someone famous walking towards you or something like that. So anything, because again, hypnosis, so anything that they can get you to stare at in your dream. This is when you start having dreams within dreams. Yeah.
Whoa.
Any kind of light, anything like that. So, you know, even with a lot of the people today that say things like move to the light, go to the light, walk to the light, even with the I kind of think of what they're called, the Masons, and that they say that a lot, you know, look to the light, go to the light. And this is where people, especially with the neo-spiritual community, often don't realize what they're saying. Which light? You might be better off looking for the black. So yeah, it's so they do that a lot in dreams as well. Other signs that you're having an experience, you wake up physically exhausted after your required hours of sleep. And obviously that'll be coupled with often with some pretty hectic memories that are unusual. And we'll take a look at dreams and how you can recognize what's usual and what's unusual, what's a teaching dream and what's an experience. Obviously, waking up with bruises, cuts, incisions, needle marks. If you are wandering around during the day and then you're just suddenly overwhelmed with fatigue and you just need to make it to the nearest level ground and go to sleep, that's another sign as well. They often utilize, they hack you, and I'll talk about that as well. Once they hack you, they can then just put you to sleep, wake you up, sexually charge you, do whatever they want with your body once they've hacked you. Okay, we'll go through that in detail as well. You can feel like someone's tuned into you. You just feel like you're and I don't know what it's like with all people, but with my body type and my bloodlines, certainly I know how to. That was one thing that the reptilians didn't count on, is that they can tune into you, but I can tune in return, and I can track them in return. So you might be able to do that depending on your blood type. If you're O positive, you're most likely going to be able to do that. Okay. And try it. Have fun with this, because at the end of the day, they're having fun with you. So treat it for what it is, and really give them something to think about. I think that's most of the. You might wake up actually really annoyed with your partner, or even hating on them for no reason. They haven't done anything, and that's a really good one for women as well. I don't know that men have that. Most of the stuff that I'm telling you is going to be from my female kind of perspective. Okay, men may have a different experience. So. And I've said in here to, when you do, if you're listening now and you realize, geez, you know, I really am having those experiences, I want you to go easy on yourself. And I'm going to give you suggestions shortly on things you can do and go into everything in a bit more detail. But remember that this is all new to you, and you are going to suck at it at first. Okay. And they're experienced. But at the end of the day, you know, just know that what you're doing really is quite difficult. But if you, like with anything, as long as you have a go, you build confidence. Okay. You've got to have a go with the right tools and the right information, but it builds confidence. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you can develop more courage from there. So how's that for the first bit? Is that useful?
Yes. I just feel like we need some context. I just don't know what that context is, but
for now, in this case, we'll go into the dreamscape, because this is where they start. Okay, so we've looked at how you might know that you're having a reptilian experience. Okay, the signs to look for. Okay, I'll go through the signs within the dreamscape now, because this is where most of them deal with most people, to my knowledge. Okay. Certainly with all the people that have written into me over the years. Okay. How do they appear? So again, a crush you have, your partner, celebrity, a character of some kind of fictional work, even a book, anything that goes in your head. Okay. If they've hacked you, they've got that information. Okay. So it's really important the other thing that they'll do if they do come in as that kind of person, they usually make sure that they have blue eyes. They understand that humans find blue calming. Okay, it's their biggest giveaway. I remember having an experience once where I had someone in the form of Michael Jackson and somebody else, and he was talking to me and telling me how at least he felt like he was with his own people now and he didn't have to feel like a monster anymore. And his eyes were brilliant, brilliant blue. And I remember thinking, oh.
Whoops, they messed up there.
Yeah. So, and so many of them do it. You know, even when I've been underground and I've attended some of their meetings, they disguise themselves. So the leaders disguise themselves from their own people in human form. They'll turn up in human form and their eyes will be brilliant blue. They just have this, maybe it's kind of like humans. We just do these things that we do thinking they work and we never question it hundreds of years later, but we kind of know now, guys, you know. So yeah, brilliant blue eyes.
So and Sashita, I just realized that we did not cover the things that you did in order to know this experience. The stories of who you worked with, what you did to provide security detail, and the things that you work with in order to know how you know this. I think we missed that.
Yeah, I brushed over the fact that I'd been underground and did a lot of work with my partner in reptilian form and dealing with pedophiles and working with the kids underground and everything. You want more of that detail, do you?
The detail about that you did for Trump? Or is that's not gonna, I mean, we don't have to go into that detail other than that's how you know what you know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just the background so that they know where all this comes from.
Yeah, look, most of my work was underground, dealing with pedophiles. That was my job, was to find them. And I had a team. And we travel in a loop. So there's a time loop. If you want to change the present or the past, you have to go into the future. And so we would go and find these people in the future. At the time, we were only going sort of 6 or 7 years ahead, but that's what we had to do. I would be a stand-in in the future. We would have, what do you call it when they have press conferences? And I don't know if you know this, but well, you probably do. They have actors. They actually have, to my understanding, from my experience, they have job roles within government that do not exist, that are there solely for the purpose of actors. And they come up with elaborate titles that make sense. And so an actor will come in my case, you know, in the future, take on that job role. And so then I would give a speech on behalf of whoever should have been speaking in order to get the word out. And so I would come out on stage and say, hey, you're talking about this is who's actually doing it. And then, you know, all hell would break loose and they'd use sonar weapons and all sorts of things to try and make sure that nobody heard it and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's basically what I was doing. One of the things would be that you get a whole lot of different bodies and things like that. So it doesn't matter if you get done in, because you just get removed and you come back to this one and they'll give you another one. I've gone in a child's body in order to get through security and go into military bases. You know, I just take on a child's form and pretend that I belong to somebody or lost somebody, you know.
What happens to your body, your physical body, when you're doing that? Where does it go? What does it do?
Stays here. It's the same as, you know, when people are going back on their craft and going back to their people in the night or going traveling around, your body's just put, it's not in stasis, but it is just put in sleep mode. And you,
oh, okay, so this is all during the sleep mode you're doing this. Oh, yeah. Got it. Okay, so you're at not astral travel.
Not all of it.
Lucid dreaming.
Like some of it you do go physically, obviously, but for those kinds of things, you can't go physically, because otherwise you risk losing this body, and no one wants that. They don't want that, and you don't want that, because they can't keep using you if this body goes. So they have replicas and put this body in sleep mode and put you in the next body and the next body and so on. You just put you into a hard drive. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So once you're in the dream state, you're able to then take off and go get your security detail for the day. And that security detail for the day says, you know, you're going to go to this place, and then that's when you choose whatever body you go into. Is that kind of how it would work?
Yeah, often, you know, during the day while you're running around doing whatever you're doing. But they don't wait for you to go in the dreamscape. It happens as soon as you knock out, like you're gone. That's it. It's well, at least in my case, I would just be immediately gone, and I'd be gone all night, and I'd know when I've come back, and I'd usually come back at like 4 a.m, and then I've got to get up for work. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I just wanted to
for them to
be aware of the experience.
Yeah, but bear in mind that most of the stuff that, like, I worked out these things before I started doing this work. So I had written this blog. I'd started it before I was undertaking a lot of that work consciously, put it that way.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There's a question here. In which race, with which race are you going into the tunnels?
Humans and reptilians.
Okay. Okay.
They also have other races under there that they've since created. Like, there's these kind of spider people. They still have 2 legs and 2 arms, but they can scale any wall, and they've got, you know, bright eyes and the freaky things, and you can't see them unless you can see the special water and see their reflection or something. But there's other species under there too that have been created. But, yeah.
Okay. But I think they were asking, are you going into the tunnels? With which race are you going into the tunnels?
I was going in with reptilians and humans and whatever other species that were in there.
Got it. Yes. Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. So do you want me to go back to what we were discussing before?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so when we take a look at how they're dealing with the dreamscape, they do target certain people, okay, particularly for dreamscape work. So they're going to target people that are loners, people that fear abandonment, people that work long hours, are tired, or have an active mind, okay, because if they have a vivid imagination, it gives them more to work with. Someone that enjoys problem solving, someone who's confident, someone who's not confident. Like, they can utilize all of these to their advantage for different types of tasks, okay? If I can give you an example, that there's, you know, a whole lot of horses, and different types of horses are great for different tasks. Some are going to be great for jumping, some are going to be great for hacking, racing, you know, chasing cattle, whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? They'll have a temperament that'll be best suited to something, and they do the same thing with humans, okay? They like people who are aware as well, and people who do know how to travel interdimensionally, because they can do a lot with those kinds of people. Okay, it doesn't matter, you know, particularly the reptilians that have an agenda, they want to utilize you for something. Okay, if they don't really want to utilize you for something, then they're just going to be looking for someone potentially who's a little stagnant but easily accessible sexually. Okay.
Okay, so let's see, what's this question? I don't know if it goes with this. How are the reptilians helping children if they are one of the ones doing it?
Can you ask me, how are the reptilians helping children?
If they are the ones doing it. Did we say that reptilians were helping children?
Some of them are.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could say the same thing. We could say, you know, how are the humans helping children if they're the ones doing it? You know, it's some humans are helping, and some humans are
helping. Some humans are helping the pedophiles. Yeah, for sure.
And some true. People and some humans are helping the children. So it's exactly the same. It's not all in the one box.
True
you
that.
know.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll go back to the dreamscape. So understanding your dreams is really, really important. And unfortunately, like most things, there's a lot of learning before you can actually start to become good at something. The first thing that I would suggest is you really learn about your own dreamscape, understand your dreams, understand your symbols. Okay. And when you understand your dream, and you do that by writing them down, I would keep a book. I've got books and books of my dreams that when I read through them, I can see all the experience versus the dreams. Yeah. And you write it all down. You keep that book and paper and pen, you know, beside your bed, and you make yourself wake up. You just learn to do that. You write it down, you study it, you understand it. This is what I had to do. I understood all of my symbols, what all the animals meant, you know, what the different people meant, what did a road mean, what kind of road was it, what colors meant, on what side something was placed of me, what all that meant. And when I understood my dreams so well, I knew when there was interference. So that movie, what was that movie that Leonardo DiCaprio played in? Yeah. Okay, so that's really accurate, and that is what they do. And they will put you in dreams within dreams, and they will inject you for dreams within dreams. That is real. That is real.
Wow. I tried understanding that movie and I couldn't.
Yeah. I understand it very well because I've lived it for years and years. Yeah, that is honestly what they do, and they will try and have you develop new beliefs within the dreamscape. Just like they tried to get him to believe that he didn't need to follow the steps of his father so he could relinquish the company. So it's the same thing. That is where they will attempt to convert you to pedophilia. It's where they'll attempt to convert you to religion, from religion, all sorts. That is how they do it, because humans have a tendency to look for signs. And so if they have a dream that seems important, they'll be like, it's a sign. And so they'll think, oh, well, I should trust my intuition. There's a lot of those kind of global statements that go around saying, you know, always trust your gut, always trust your intuition. Well, you know, as long as it's yours, you know. So yeah, so it's really important to be able to recognize your dreams, and I will show you this book, and it might come off backwards. Don't know. Does that look backwards? Or?
No, it's good.
Cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the Complete Dream Dictionary by Pamela Ball, and for those of you who are for those of us that are kind of Westerners, you see it's well worn. Do invest in that book. It is incredible. If you are from a different ethnic background, then I suggest that you find something that fits your background, because the symbols may be different, okay? And they may have different meanings, all right? And that's really important, like especially if you come from Eastern or something like that. But definitely this saved me, I'll tell you that, along with a few other things. But really, there's really good explanations of all the different symbols in there, and you'll start to see what's yours and what's not. Now, when you're really across your dreamscape, then the next thing is, they call it lucid dreaming, all that kind of thing, to be able to control your dreams. That's not so important, but what is important is to be able to go into your dream if you want to. And so I would go to a place that I think they call it Shibumi, the Japanese or something. But basically I would go to a meadow. It was just of barley, or I think it was barley or rye. Barley, I think barley's taller. And that's all it was, and blue sky and the sun. And I would spend my night walking in there for rest, okay? And then on one occasion I saw some flies swarming, a swarm of flies coming down. I looked up and no, sorry. Just before that, I remember touching the barley, and then there was a glitch, and the barley head that I'd seen just before was re-blooming. So it had been in full bloom, but now it was just blooming, and I thought, there's something wrong with that, okay? It was like a glitch in the matrix kind of thing, you know? And I thought, interference, you know, someone's looking for me. And then I saw a swarm of flies coming down, and as I looked at them, they came closer and closer to me, and then I realized they looked like pixels. and I thought, someone's playing with the program for sure. And they were trying to come into my mouth. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. And that's when I started saying the phrase that works for me. And then I was transported into nothingness, and I had to battle that winged dragon and formlessness. So when you have a dream and you see that glitch and you see something a second time, or it's a slight change and you didn't create it, or something's in your dreamscape that isn't usually there, that's a sign for you, okay, that someone else is playing in there. Does that make sense?
It does. It just sounds so surreal, or so it's just
Complex.
surreal. Yeah, no, just surreal. For us that haven't been there and that don't remember our dreams, you know, half the people don't remember their dreams at all, you know. Other people like me remember, but very little. You know, stuff like this is like, you have to be lucid during your dream to do all this that you're saying. So I think
I would be doing things like, you know, create a hypnosis and then listen to yourself around remembering your dreams or waking up when you've had a dream. Anything to convince your subconscious to tweak you so that you will wake up and write it down and start learning about your dreams, making sure that your pineal gland's being cleansed, and so that you can access that part of yourself, doing whatever you can to really let the universe know, hey, source, I'm in this form, I need to access this stuff now. I want control, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I
what
do
I
that
do.
a lot. I create my own meditations at night to drive things, you know,
Yeah.
so that sounds like a good idea.
And to make yourself get up and write it down. It can never be, oh, but I'm tired, I'll remember it in the morning. You won't remember it in the morning.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So then so after you're done with the dreamscape, I want you to talk about if you've done this astrally as well, like astral projection, where you just went to lay down for a nap or whatever, and you just went somewhere too. Not just dreaming at night, basically, is what I'm saying. If it ever happened.
This happened. Yeah, it happens during the day. I mean, once you're hacked, like I said, if they got a chip in you or whatever, then yeah, they'll knock you out. And I've woken up on my couch and they've got this rod right across my body and I'm being charged or something. They use magnetism or other creatures doing that. And yeah, look, anything can happen during the day. It's not like it happens at night as well. And I think most people, I would expect, if they're watching your show, then they've had missing time and maybe they've taken steps to revisit that missing time and work out what happened and who they were with. And if you have animals, I'll give you a clear indication of what kind of creature. They used to knock on the door. Would knock on the door. The ones that I was dealing with, and certainly the one that is my partner, he would knock on the door. You would actually hear the knock on the door, believe it or not.
For the animals, was it for the animals, because of the animals in the house?
I think he was just trying to be polite. It was like a human thing, and he was just trying to be polite because, you know, it was all quite disconcerting.
Oh, okay. So, but your partner was a good reptilian.
Yeah.
But the bad ones aren't going to knock on the door.
No, but, you know, some people might be dealing with good ones. So I just want to be able to give them a little bit of both. But yeah, they would knock on the door and I'd open the door and you can't see anything, but the dogs would be there and they just go. They look straight up because they're so tall, you know. And I had a pet lizard at the time and he just loved them. He just thought they were the best thing in the whole world, and he'd be staring up at how tall they were. Why aren't I as big as that? They can all see them. You can see them with your third eye. I can follow them around the room. I know where they are. But you know, when you're in this form and you haven't been tweaked, you know, they have to tweak you and then you can start to see things as if you're their form. But no, most of the bad ones, they're probably, a lot of them aren't going to be working with you. They're going to be using you for sexual manipulation, which would be the next topic. Are you ready to go on to that? That's what most reptilians are after.
Yeah. So is this the part where we tell people beware of the content?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to go into some very major sexual content here. So if this is something that
it's going to be explicit. So
yeah. So if it makes you feel uncomfortable, please, now's the time to
take
go.
a tea break.
Take a break.
Have a cuppa. Okay. In my experience, it's the females that are really sick. Okay. Really sick. They're the ones, in my experience, that do the pedophilia, trying to get humans over to that. What they do is it's by positive association, and it usually starts in the dreamscape. Now, once they've hacked you, they can turn your arousal up and down, and they can prevent you from wanting to climax. So they can hold you at a point for days. And then what they do is they utilize that massive sexual energy that you've developed. You've got a whole ball of it now. And they use that for some purpose or other. Okay. That is now their power for them to use. And I have had it happen, and I don't tell this story very often, but I'll tell it here, where I was in a room with them, and they were the females. They were on a bed, as was I, and she said to me that I had to get on my knees. She wanted me to do something or whatever, and she had a child there who would have been about 7, and the child was naked and on its knees, and I could see, the stuff. And she wanted me to look at it into climax, and I wouldn't, and she wanted me to get on my knees, and I said I won't do that either. And she pushed me down with my head and said, you'll do what you're told. And at which point, of course, she didn't know of my capabilities, and I stood up and changed form into her form, and I actually grabbed her and I ripped her body in half, and her blood was like all this it's kind of a dark greeny, bluey kind of color. Anyway, that was what happened, but that is how they do it. Now, I will follow that up by saying I woke up in the morning with one side of my face like a football. Like, I probably should have gone to hospital, but I didn't, because I knew what it was about. I rang a very close friend of mine at the time and told them. I'd sent a photo of myself and sent it into work and said, I'm sorry, I can't come in. This is me at the moment. He actually didn't tell me. And then 2 weeks later, he said, listen, I got to tell you something. That morning that you rang me and you looked the way that you did, his brother's granddaughter, who was 7 years old, woke up the same time that morning with the same face situation. So they had specifically used someone that I was linked to. This stuff is real. This isn't in the dreamscape, fabricated entities to have you do. They are using real entities. They're using real people.
Wow.
So the stuff that I'm saying, please, if you're going through this, take it on board. They're not messing about. Okay. So in my experience, it's the females that are particularly sick, and they're also the ones that'll groom you for a male. Okay, so they'll have a male reptilian. Now, these aren't the winged ones. They don't kind of mess around with this kind of stuff much. They might take you on as sexual food, maybe at a stretch, but usually it's just your more regular type reptilians that'll deal with this kind of thing. They just got the 2 arms, 2 legs, and they don't have wings or anything. Mm-hmm. They'll groom you for one of the males, and they'll utilize, because they've tapped into what they think you find attractive, and then he will present himself in that form. They'll bathe you, dress you how you should be dressed or whatever, and whatever color they think that he likes, and then they will present you. I don't know what they will do with male humans, but yeah, this is with female humans. So I've had this happen, okay? The really important thing, here's the next thing with the sexual context, is that the next most important thing is to have complete sexual control of your body. If you're dealing with reptilians, then if I were you, I would get really good at bringing yourself to climax and then stopping and not allowing yourself to climax, to really be able to be on that peak and then have complete control and shut it down. You need to know how to do that. You need to be able to do that, because they will wind you up, and if you climax, it's game over. Okay? You need to be able to stamp down any sexual attraction. You need to be able to practice looking at stuff that might turn you on, and then noticing the chemical change in your body, and then just shutting it down. Just shut it down. Okay? In the reptilian world, it's not what you say that counts. It's your chemical response that counts. If your body becomes aroused, that equals yes.
Oh, geez.
That is what they understand. It's how they deal with each other. It's not, yes, I'm turned on, but no, I don't feel like it right now. You either are turned on or you're not. And that equals yes or no. Okay? So in this situation, I had to be really careful. I was on that arousal point, and I maintained control. We had some kind of kitchen that we were in, and he walked out. It was really cute, actually. I know this sounds funny, but just the things they thought I was attracted to, you know, they really didn't do enough homework. Anyway, he came out with this kind of, they thought, oh, you know, she likes guys with a bit of silver in their hair. So they just made his hair white. It was just weird, you know. And then on this, and they're like, oh, she doesn't like really muscled bodies, like just like a more real looking man. But then they made him kind of too pouchy. Do you know what I mean? It was just so funny. Anyway, he came out in his human, you know, form, and stood there, and he's reading my body with his body. He's reading, and he's waiting, and you can see him, you know, trying to feel what's happening. And I had to have complete control, and I managed to keep my body at a no. So just no response, no response. Now, his immediate response to that is like indignation, like rejection, potential rage. Because why am I here then? Okay, why am I here presented like this, and then to turn him away? Okay, this is how they see it. Because the females are sick. They've dragged me in there. Do you know what I mean? And because that's fun for them, you know, and then he's excited and it's all grand, and then I turn up and my body's not responding. One, how could it not be responding to me? You know, but I've presented myself in the way that you like. What do you mean you're not responding? You know, there's all this kind of stuff. So then you have to be very tactful, really tactful in how you deal with that. And again, it's just all with the body. You don't attach any emotion. It's just a no, but a feeling of respect. This is how I did it. I just made sure, because I don't blame him. He's doing what his culture does, whatever that is, you know. I just have to protect myself, and he's got some psycho females in his little harem there. So I just, you know, I just maintained a sense of respect, and I didn't laugh. You never laugh. Don't ever, my God. And sometimes you'll be tempted, because it did look a little bit ridiculous the way he was all done up, you know. And I almost cracked a smile, and I felt the rage building, and I just managed to keep it all straight. And he just stood there for a while, and when he realized that, okay, this is the way it is, he just let me go. He sent me back, and he sent me back himself, because there was mutual respect. So he sent me back himself. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
So why? So if she's taking you there, why can't you just not allow that to happen? Like,
I could just not allow that to happen. But I mean, at the time, I didn't have those kinds of skills. So I hadn't yet worked out how to stop stuff from happening in the dream. I hadn't yet worked out. So, you know, I'm sharing these things to help people who may have already gotten caught up. Okay, this is what you can do now. Okay, because maybe you're not an expert across your dreams, and you might not be an expert for 2 years. It took me something like 3 or 4 years to really get across my dreams. Well, in the meantime, here are some other things to look out for, and how to conduct yourself to try and help yourself in these situations.
So now that you know what you know, would you have done anything different with that?
I mean, other than stop. other than stop it at the very beginning, no, I handle it the right way. And, you
Okay.
know, I understand reptilians reasonably well, and it's, you know, they're very caught up in how they are perceived. Like if you cannot mock them.
Or send them love. You had told me that you cannot send them love either. So
Yeah,
no,
don't do
no
that. I mean,
mocking,
that's an
no
insult.
sending love.
That's
Yeah.
just an insult to them. I know a lot of the neo-spiritual community go, oh, just send love and it changes everything. From their perspective, who the hell are you? What right do you have to say that I need fixing? You know, are you so self-righteous? You so perfect, you think I need fixing? Like, take a look at yourself, because of course they have a completely different moral compass. You know, so who are we to say that they are broken or wrong? I mean, how many people here that are on your show eat meat, who, you know, allow cows, sheep, whatever to die, or, you know, who go and burn wood and don't take consideration for the ants that might be inside of it? I don't know. Like, none of us are untarnished.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there will be many other species looking at us thinking that, you know, we're marauding giants.
We're barbaric. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are some
You
people
know,
that eat people too.
exactly. You
Yeah.
know. So, I mean, that's how I look at them. I just see them as another species, and I get to know them from that perspective. I don't attempt to humanize them or, you know, try and force my morals or perceptions onto them, because it really clouds your ability to understand them. You know, I just think it's best just to take them as they are. Like, you want to work with dogs, it's best that you learn their language, their body language, and work with them. You know, otherwise you're going to have a constant battle for leadership in your own home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or work with horses. You're going to have a horse that's going to drop you on the road because it's scared, because it doesn't think it has anyone to turn to. And then you're just going to think it's a naughty horse and put a bullet in it, depending on what kind of person you are. If we just actually look at the creature itself and learn about them, I think that, you know, we have it. And that's not to say that anything anyone does is okay and acceptable. It's just about first understanding and then trying to work around them or with them, as the case may be. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because we are judging based on our values, on our societal values, and what's right and what's wrong for our society and our race. And like you say, they have their own beliefs.
Yeah, I've noticed here that I've written in my blog some of the things to look for with sex-focused settings, and I had forgotten about this, is that they'll use two main colors. They're not very creative. So so there might be, I've got here that they might use white and gold. That one was white and gold. They're obviously trying to put me into quite, he was obviously feeling romantic, as far as reptilians can feel romantic, and they really wanted me to feel that whole scene. Others can be green and red. So they can rush things. So they don't understand our time-based needs, especially when it comes to things like romantic settings. If they're actually trying to get you as a mate or utilize your energy this is more for their genuine pleasure. Okay, as odd as that might sound, not for, that's the women that tend to play the games. Okay. But they don't understand what's a quick pace versus what's a slow pace. So things might move a little bit too quickly for what we'd expect, because they haven't done enough research into us. Okay. So yeah, just be aware of that. If you're in what you think is a dream and there's a couple of main colors and the pace is just going a little bit quickly, and it just means it's not your dream, you know, because if it was your dream, it'd be going at a pace that you understood. You know,
Okay.
and of course it would have all the symbols that you would understand and the kinds of colors that you would normally associate in your dream, or, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course, you know if you're going to have a dream, really, because if you've had something significant going on that day, then you're probably going to want to process it that night. So you're likely to have a dream within the next couple of nights. And so if you're having one, you know, with these kinds of situations, then you know that it's out of character, if that makes sense. And so when you're in your dream, you can go, hang on a second. Okay. Hopefully, as you start to learn more about your dreams and, really start to involve yourself with that part of your life, because our sleep is a huge part of our life. We spend so much time in that space.
Yes.
And I think it's really important. People spend a lot of time trying to understand the waking world. It's really important to also understand, the resting world as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and I've written here, there's basic entry-level group exercises. So, oh, yeah, that's right. So they do things like there's more than one person present, usually females. Those present who wish to be noticed will be lounging on the bed or couch. Others will be sort of back where you can't really see them, or busy. There'll be a main room with additional open doors suggesting extra space. So that's what they do. They let you think that there's more space. They don't want you to feel like you're trapped. And the individuals will appear in what you would consider to be a pleasant dress, and it'll come across like a social gathering, chatty. Sometimes the scene setting can be so lengthy, they clearly don't understand foreplay. So they'll make the scene setting lengthy, thinking that's what's going to relax you, and then they'll just get on with the rest. So again, this is how you know that it's, you should be able to work out that there's something weird going on here. Why am I just in this constantly chatty, relaxed atmosphere, and I'm not learning anything, nothing's happening, and then, all of a sudden it's on, someone's coming to me, and I'm aroused. You know what I'm saying? So those are your more like arranged mateships, basically, and that does happen. And you wouldn't believe how many people write into me discussing this, and and that is okay. And if they're having a consensual relationship, that is also okay. It's, if people want to do that, I'm totally cool with that. I don't judge you,
To each his own is my saying. To each his own.
Yeah, like you can go on plenty of planets and there's inter-species relationships. It's not unheard of at all. It's quite common. So I certainly wouldn't be looking down my nose at it anyway. But as long as you know that you know what position you're actually in, you got to know where it's really at. And I'm not suggesting that you don't know, and I'm not suggesting that if you're doing it that you're not in a position of power, because you can be. They're quite an unusual species, really, and that I know that there's that whole hive mind aspect, but I think that you'll find that certainly some of the generals and things like that are quite different and a lot more aware than people would give credit, although that kind of behavior wouldn't think so. But then from their perspective, they would feel mildly enlightened, because they are dealing with another species and they are understanding another species, just like a general over here having a horse and being able to do all sorts of dressage tricks with it. Like, to them, this is how they will look at things, because we're an animal and they're not. It's...
So that's how they see us.
Yeah, we're not like not how we see animals. We see animals as lowly beings. They don't see it like that, but they will see us as another creature, a form of a curiosity. The ones that aren't sick.
Oh, the ones that are not evil.
Yeah, yeah. They'll see us as a curiosity or as a potential pet. Whereas the sickos, like, obviously they want to eat, and they'll be the ones that view us a little more nicely, obviously want to utilize us for the same kind of food, and they'll tend to use sexual energy, okay, because they're a little bit more enlightened, if you like. Whereas the others, they want your pain, they want your misery, they want your self-degrading, mess.
Well, that's what they feed on, right? That fear energy.
A lot of them, yeah, but others feed on sexual energy. They can actually make a choice and choose to opt out of the other, just like we can choose not to eat meat. They can choose not to eat that. And that's how they begin to change their frequency, in my experience. Right.
And that's really important to put out here, is this is just Sashita's experience. I'm sure there are many other different kinds of experiences out there.
Definitely.
So.
Definitely. Look, I mean, I've dealt with rape from reptilians and all that kind of thing too, you know, so I've experienced a fairly well-rounded, you know, view of them, put it that way. And, you know, these are all the different, yeah.
Okay. So if you raise your vibration to a point where you disappear from their view, could that be a way to
Definitely
protect yourself?
Yeah, because they can't hack into your system then. I don't have anything to do with them anymore. It's not like they can find me really, you know, like I suppose the military can. But I mean, it wasn't really worth it to them in the end because I became too unpredictable for them, you know. And plus, I did my job, you know. I was working with that faction that, you know, were attempting to overthrow their own body. So, you know, I did my work, and yeah, I'm not on the radar for the those that are out escaping, you know, that they're just looking for some meat. And so, yeah, I mean, as long as you're eating really well, depending on whatever your body type is, and you know, you're drinking decent water, and it doesn't mean that you have to go to all sorts of expense, and you know, you're really in control of your mind, you're really in control of your sexual self, then you're not much fun.
Right. Exactly.
And you're hard to track.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also tend to avoid getting involved with other people that are dealing with them. So you know, while I've put out this stuff, it's, you know, I don't talk to people or get involved in their stories or get involved in their experience or anything. I don't put myself on the radar. You know, I've battled plenty of reptilians in my time, and you know, had to kill them and have been almost killed myself, you know. So I've done my time, and my role has changed, you know. But you know, I've certainly passed through the ground, passed through my own bed, and been aware of it at the time. I've, you know, been to so many different places and seen so many different underground landscapes, above ground landscapes, and all their different meetings and their hierarchies. And it was interesting. Maybe it had to be done. But yeah, it's, if you can avoid being in that frequency, I would.
Okay.
I mean, it might be a great party trick or a great talking point, you know, but I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
I don't think it's worth it. And, you know, you get to a point too, like if you've been out of the ring for a while, you know, you don't want to put yourself back in there. Like, it's like riding a bike, I suppose. You can fight again if you have to, but it's better if you don't have to.
Right. Exactly.
But
so,
yeah, definitely starts with the body. You'd be amazed how much of this lower frequency is down to unhealthy bodies. You'd be amazed at how many people haven't done a full DNA test of their body. I mean, it's a must do. Do a full DNA test of your body. Find out exactly what your body needs and what's going on with it. I did that. I discovered that my body wasn't capable of activating and processing vitamin Bs, the full range. So I was running on 50%. You need that, like vitamin Bs make up at least 50% of your ability to be alive and be healthy.
wow.
And I couldn't even activate them.
So what kind of test is that?
I did a full DNA test. I'm not sure what it'll be in each country. Yeah.
Is that, I wonder if that's what it's called here in the US. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. From wherever you are, you want to look up, just type in, you know, DNA test, and it's not for your coding as in, you know, where you come from. It's for your health. And you'll be able to see where your problems come from in your lineage. you know, whether it comes from your mother's side or your father's side, if you have tendency toward depression, or if you've got, you know, an anemia, or if you might have, you know, B12 anemia, or you might have, you know, iron anemia or whatever. But once you fix that kind of stuff, it makes it so hard for them, because our essence is elevated. Okay, it is. And if you're in a body that's elevated, you become largely untouchable.
Yeah, that
You really
I
do.
mean, you kind of, I mean, you can even disappear, right, from them
Yeah, yeah.
seeing you, because you
Yeah.
changed the channel. They're in this
Yeah.
channel, and now you're in this channel, and they can't see you.
Exactly. And, you know, a lot of people think it's about spiritual work. I'm telling you now, as much as you might not like the fact that you're in a body, it is not inconsequential. Okay, like it has a huge effect on your spiritual world. And the body has to be, you know, you need to be up around 65%, I would say, if you want to start moving out of their range.
Okay.
You want to be at least 65% health, you know. And it was actually reptilians that helped me understand that and got me to do all that stuff and taught me what to eat based on my bloodlines. It was them that taught me. So taught me to go and eat dandelion and all these other little, you know, weed herbs, and they said I had to have an 80% raw diet and start doing all that, and I did, and to cut out, you know, meat. They told me to stop eating meat so that I could raise my vibration. They told me that.
Yeah, so Thorhan told us that during one of the Palladium broadcasts. He told us that they do smell people that eat meat. They can actually smell them and know them, I guess, by vibration. I don't know.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting question. I once heard they don't like smokers. Is that true? Do you know?
They hate flame. They hate smoke. They don't like perfumes. In my experience, so they don't like candles and things like that. So, and they hate music. It's just like noise. They hate the noise. I actually learned to live in a silent world from working with them, the good ones, that is. Yeah, so I would make sure I never put on, you know, scented candles and things like this. I remember one time I had worn some perfume, and he said to me, excuse my language, but get that cheap shit off you. Yeah. So yeah, there's certain things that do work them. If you go underground to where they live in that, it's very, very warm, and they clean themselves using steam. So they have these steam jets that come out and can soften around their skin and everything, and that's how they clean. And yeah.
Oh, so that's how they shower, basically, with steam?
Yeah.
Wow, so they can withstand hot heat then, high heat.
Yeah, they need it, yeah.
I see. Okay. Do they drink anything?
Sense.
Do they need water like we do?
They have liquids and stuff like that. They make a liquid. A lot of them make liquids out of, obviously, you know, humans and organs and things like that. And I've been and seen it happen and watched them removing them. And yeah, they do that. I don't know too much. I don't remember too much more. I just remember, yeah.
So you had mentioned that your urine or your feces would smell if you had been taken, but what about them themselves when they're around you? Did they also smell?
Yeah, they're really self-conscious about it. The nicer ones, they're self-conscious
Really?
about a couple of things. They're self-conscious about how they smell and how they look, and they feel like they look disgusting because they might not be feeding off of the same stuff as these are the kinder ones, okay? Then they have more awareness. And I don't like using the word it's elevated or enlightened, but I don't know what else to use that people can understand. But when they develop a kinder heart, okay, when they develop a kinder heart and they start to be more inclusive or long for inclusivity, they become self-aware. They begin to feel naked, and not naked in the way as I need to dress, but, oh, I must seem grotesque to you. and they're petrified of your fear. They don't like to see fear in you, and they won't deal with you if you're going to be really frightened with them. Which, when you're dealing with individuals like that, that can be really sad, because it's really hard not to express fear, especially because they're very powerful and can move so quickly. And then you kind of miss out on the opportunity to get to know them better, and and their community and things like that. But yeah, they're very self-conscious about those two things.
So how do
The
you
others don't care. The others really don't care, and the more frightened you are, the better, obviously.
So how do you know what you're dealing with? You have a reptilian in front of you and you're like, okay, I don't know if this guy is good or is bad. So what should I do at that moment?
The first thing I do is remove the polarization. I just wouldn't act from a place of polarization or think from a place of polarization in terms of good or bad or evil or whatever. I would assess the individual in front of you. And
How? That's my point. Like, what would you do?
Let me continue.
Yeah.
I would assess the person in front of me, and I do that by looking at their body language, okay, at their eyes. Are they going to the trouble to make their eyes blue? Are they going to the trouble to make their eyes red? Are they leaving their eye color neutral, the way that it ordinarily would be? Is there one or two? Are they female?
If they're female, think about it twice.
Oh, mate, if they're female in a pack, get out of there. A reptilian on their own is reasonably rare. If it's a male reptilian on his own, then he could be easily frightened and attack, because sometimes you can stumble on them too, I would be, taking a look at, you always know their agenda, because it'll be in your mind, because they do telepathy. So you're going to know what they're saying to you. And obviously, if there's sexual arousal, then you know where it's at. Okay. And if there's sexual arousal, then I would just get the hell out of there, because you're being utilized. And no one, that's not coming from a place of power, is it? So unless you want to engage with that, then do so, but from a position of equal power. Yeah. Otherwise, you want to abort, and you abort by saying the phrases and things that I said before that make sense to you with your belief system. Okay, just abort. Honestly, if you see them, abort. Unless they're standing there telling you, hey man, I think you could be healthier, want to try, some dandelion leaves, like, honestly, just abort.
I'll have to try dandelion leaves.
Oh, they're great. I eat them all the time now. I've got all sorts of leaves that they told me I needed to eat, and I went and looked them up online, and sure enough, they were good for me. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I'll show this.
I'll
I
go
think
back
I
to
know
mine
the
as well.
answer. So what language do the reptilians speak and write? They don't, that's all telepathy, right?
Yeah, they use telepathy. So I don't know if they tend to make any inscriptions. I don't think I've seen anything like that. They will try and communicate with you physically in your space. They don't like changing us too much so that we see them, because it's really hard on our bodies. It's really fatiguing. And sometimes they'll try and manifest physically in your room, in your dimension. And that can happen. It'll just look like a whole lot of sparks of bright light going off in the corner of your room. These are the kind of ones. But again, that was my Elma Huluk partner in a reptilian form trying to say, hey, I'm here, and
that's
we're
true.
going to.
That's true.
So that's my experience with it, but I haven't seen them. It's all just been sort of, I'm sure they make clicking sounds or some kind of other sounds that reptiles might make, but they never did that with me.
Oh, okay. You never heard that when you were around them?
No.
Okay.
Let me just go back and make sure I'm not missing anything. No, I've said the same thing here, that it's better not to engage in dream engineering, and do your best to understand their psychology, because you know that helps you work out how they're going to be engaging with you and what they're going to try and attempt. And the quickest way to stop dream interference is just to force yourself awake. The moment you see an unhealthy change or an alien kind of situation in your dream that doesn't belong there, force yourself awake. It's and the more that you spend time trying to understand your dreams and forcing yourself to wake up and write them down, that's how you begin to learn that skill. At least that's how I did.
Okay. All right. And can you show us that book again?
Yeah.
I want to write it down. The Complete Dream Dictionary. Okay.
By Pamela Bull. I just want to ask the people that are listening, is this helpful? Like, are you guys finding this helpful? I mean, I want it to be helpful. That's why I'm here.
All right. So, do you, so did you guys hear the question that Sashita is asking? Has this been helpful? Do you have a Snapchat or Instagram? Very helpful, says Scotty.
I do. I don't keep that kind of thing open for people to talk to me about this kind of thing, because I get a lot of people that are in a particular state that reptilians like, where they are, and I've got a list of them here. This is what reptilians like. What you can do is you can go into this WordPress page and you can email me from there. And if I feel safe talking to you, I will respond. The things that they like: fear-based thinkers, these are the nasty ones, low self-awareness, somebody who is plugged in, linked to RFF, you know, reverse frequency formatting, such as television, aerial, radio, social networking sites, an uncontrolled mind, poor sexual control, poor family foundation, physical, sexual abuse, but that's not a necessity, low self-worth, isolation, substance abuse, poor self-image, preoccupation with self in a negative way, paraphilia, faithlessness. Those are the kinds of things that those guys go after, the nasty ones. Okay. They're opportunists. Okay. And they will find out as much as they can about you, and they will use it. And I'll read through these because I think it's important. They'll find out if you have a current partner or lover, if any, your preferred scents, your sexual preferences, your past lovers, preferred physical appearance of males and females, current attractions, other family members, siblings, parents, pets, extended family, friends and acquaintances, favorite entertainment and all its characters, preferred sounds, preferred colors, level of dreamscape control. This small starter tests are run to locate triggers. They do that. They will run. They run starter tests.
What is that?
Yeah, they run little dreams to see if you're triggered, if your awareness is triggered, and they'll become more and more elaborate to see at which point you become suspicious, and then they will from there on attempt to always keep the dreams below that level of suspicion in order to engage with you.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why it's really important to know your dreams and know your symbols. Okay, and by symbols, because sometimes I can say things and maybe they seem obvious to some people, but maybe they don't. But look, in this book, and under F, fairy, field, friend, fig, fight, fire, you know, like pointing, poison, a pole, a pull, water, and all the different forms and what it means. Like, these are all symbols. Colors for us are symbols. So when you know your dreams really well, they're only looking for colors. They don't watch your dreams, okay? They're looking for colors that when they've hacked you, they perceive that you like, because you have them in your home, you dress in them, your emotion, your chemical signature changes when you're presented with a certain color. So they use that stuff, okay? So they don't know your dreams. I don't know why. They just don't know them, but they know the dreamscape, and they will go in there to work with you. Okay. So yeah, your general likes and dislikes, your work requirements, your living requirements, your sleep requirements. When they find someone they want to work with long term, they learn all that stuff so they can get the most out of you. They know when you're going to work. Oh, she's going to be going to sleep now. Woohoo, time on, you know. Yeah. What else have we got? Oh, I did a whole series on winged dragons, but I think that we probably don't need to.
What was I going to ask you? I forgot now. So what I've noticed on my sessions is that they attack light workers, and specifically take something off their soul, or some type of light, or like they reduce their light or their frequency somehow. But I know that that's probably not stuff you've dealt with, because I know.
Look, my understanding and my experience is that it really depends on the light worker, okay, and where their energy is at, and how arrogant they are. Okay. So if they're arrogant enough to be going in with all their sword of light and trying to, you know, affect reptilians, then yeah, sure, they're going to cop it. There's no doubt about that. And but
I'm talking more about as children, like they see that this child is coming in with this huge light, you know, like a higher light.
Actually, in my experience, what they see is it's not like they're scared of the light. What they actually see is someone with ability and potential. And they can see the future. Remember, they jump timelines. They know how to work in the timelines. So they're going to, you know, do something about that, you know. And so the fact that that child is being attacked now could actually be the fact that they're being attacked in 30 years and it's having an effect on them now. That's how it works, in my experience. Okay. So they just, you know, if you can stay under the radar in the work that you do. Look, I look at it like this too, you know, we can all get so high, but at some point things are going to come crashing down. And if you do fall, you know, from your dizzying heights, you're going to need friends down on the ground level, you know. And I think it's important that we maintain some kind of humble carriage. And, you know, I have plenty of friends underground. I have plenty that would like to see the end of me too, but they can't see me, so that's cool. You know, but I think it's important. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has something to offer, and has something helpful and useful to offer. I'm not particularly fond of snakes, but I wouldn't want to eradicate them all. I'm not particularly fond of cockroaches, but I wouldn't want to eradicate them all. I'm sure that they play their role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know, everyone loves snakes now. Well, we've got a mice plague on over here. So, you know,
yeah.
That's honestly how I look at things. And I just try and look at them as an individual. Anytime I've come across a reptilian, I've just taken them on face value and really attempted to manage my own chemical response. So that if they don't look like, a lot of them don't really want much to do with you. And, you know, I just try, and if I've happened upon them, I've just tried to maintain as level a chemical response as possible. And that way we can have an interaction that could be beneficial.
Well, I think we also need to see them as creation of the creator, just like you and I. I mean,
that goes without saying. Of course they are. They're here.
We are all one, right? As we know, we are all one, including them. So,
you know, and they can, I mean, the ones that I've met that are open to changing their own frequency and that, I mean, they can be very benevolent. Obviously, it's expressed in different ways. And I find that reptiles, even reptiles here on Earth, they they have a sense of humor, and they're very easily amused by our simpleness. They think we're simple. Even the pet reptile, I had a bearded dragon. He would look at me and he'd look so amused at times, and I just think, you know, how dare you? And he was little compared to me, and I'd try and wash his hands. You need to wash your hands. And he's like, no, I can wash my own hands. And he would wash his own hands in the sink. You know, like it's no different. They're very expressive and they're very wise. You know, just like you come across some incredibly wise humans, or any other species, El Mahuluk or whoever, Pleiadian, whoever you think you come from or who you know. And then there are going to be those that are quite ignorant and, you know, self-righteous, or, you know, have an overdeveloped sense of importance, or who are on a path of self-destruction. I haven't come across a species yet, you know, well, I have, but certainly not in your regular planets that are all, you know, got it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think I've taken enough of your time. I am so very grateful for you to take the time out of your free day to do this, but I really, really appreciate it. And
I just hope it's been, you know, useful, and
yes, that it helps somebody.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been at war, so it's you know, yeah, I hope. I worry that I haven't given enough information, but you know, maybe that is enough for people that are new to it. I don't know. So, look,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. Well, I'll make sure that I put the information that you gave us, the WordPress info, and
Yeah, okay,
in the details. So we'll do that here once we're done. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for being here. And I really appreciate you taking the time to attend and share this with people that you think need to hear it. That's the idea, is to help other people. So
thank
again,
you guys for the opportunity to serve. So that's nice.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And again, did you see the answer is always raise your vibration. Always. That's always the answer.
Always from the heart.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, everyone.